part two of commentary on the recent Stinging Back episode. So, backing up a little bit, I featured on this channel a number of the hypocritical and dishonest ways that we can be assured that we can't take the government seriously in their claim that they want to protect children. Why? Because if you are a well connected, actual sexual predator, you end up in high office. I don't know how many people have been exploiting children or youth programs who have been uh, disrespectful to women and attacking women, raping women, and they are in high positions in high offices, or there we see state senators and others who are trying to change the laws to protect their own relatives, or we have people who are running for office who are real sexual predators, and all these things are given sort of a pass. But if you're an average and ordinary person, then the law is, of course, used as a huge stick to beat you down. And the argument is, well, we have to protect children and we have to have laws and we're a nation of laws and we're protecting, public safety and all this other crap, which turns out not to be true. You can't hold both of them true. So when you consider that in mind, it's even more egregious when you see some of the things that police are doing. So, in the recent Stinging Back episode I referenced here in part one and now in part two, you see the concept of coded language that the police bring to the fore. So let's say that their scheme didn't work. They start out, they approach you pretending to be an adult who's interested in, say, role play or interested in age difference role play, which is fairly common out there. There's some strange gay role play type scenarios of which I'm unaware that deals with like young girls and such. I've had it explained to me. I still don't quite understand it, but it's not illegal to engage in role play. Excuse me. And in this area, this is where police like to play because of what they can turn, how they can turn it around on you when you think that you are getting some kind of, fetish fantasy thing going for yourself. And then they flip it. So they approach you, they introduce the fantasy oftentimes, or they certainly uh, talk it up. And then abruptly they change and mention that they're 15. Well, if you're dealing with an age related thing, then you're very likely to say, well, hold on, you know, you go along with it, and then after a while, I say, wait a minute, are you really that age? I mean, that's not what I'm really looking for. And that really doesn't matter because if you start disengaging after that, and yet you do not break the conversation, they'll claim, well, everything you say after that is coded language of grooming, right? It's just coded language. That's a term of art that they like to throw out there in law. When they didn't have any sex talk with me, for example, Elena Lowe, who was the assistant Commonwealth attorney, lied to the judge and said, well, when you take the case on the whole, well, you have to take the case on the whole because you got nothing else in there. So what she's saying is, I've got nothing. So if you read in between the lines as we have led you by the nose, you will see that what we're saying is correct. And in fact, that is a lie. Okay. That's not exactly what happens. But they leave out those parts naturally. Of course, the average and ordinary troll is now jumping up and down saying, you just need to just stop the conversation, just stop the conversation, and everything would have been great. No, because as I pointed out, there are many cases where they come after you anyway. Remember, they started the conversation. This seems to lose somewhere, get lost up in the head of the average and ordinary listener sometime, the troll who wants to make sure that you are to blame because they forget the part that you were minding your own business as an adult, engaging in lawful activity on an adult site when they approached you. You seem to forget that part. You seem to not ask the question, why are they approaching you? Why are they weaving this elaborate scheme? Why are they manipulating you and taking things you say that had one intent and assigning them a different intent. And because they're the police or the prosecution, they get away with it. So coded language is really the word of the term of art that they will use in the law to say, well, this is what it means. And if you have a judge who's a former prosecutor or something, they're very inclined to believe this. You know, they've had real predator cases before. There are people, as we've talked about here and elsewhere, who would hurt children. But just because they're saying that doesn't mean it's true. Okay. And what would happen again to public safety if police would stop hanging out on these sites trolling or weaving these elaborate schemes and deploying these elaborate artifices to try to trick people? Why don't you just leave them alone? You know, it makes sense if you are going after somebody that you know is some drug kingpin. Okay, like I was in jail with somebody who actually was a meth wholesaler, and he and I had many hours of talking about various things. He was actually a poet, so we had something in common, and quite a good one actually. But he told me how they went after him and that he had learned that they had been following him and they had been talking to some of the people, the retailers, I guess, the drug guys on the street who sell drugs. You know, I don't know that world. I only know it through some other people. And so when he is dealing with all these, you know, afterthoughts, he was able to put together a scenario where they had been following him and and setting him up because they had some evidence. This is not what this is. This is pure trolling. They didn't come after me because I was something beforehand. I've said many times I never even put a cigarette to my lips. Okay. And I wouldn't have a criminal charge but for the police. And that's the point. If they stayed off these sites, then there wouldn't be all these people with criminal charges and there would be no children in danger. There'd be nobody that they go after. In a little bit, I'm going to do something on vigilantes too and some of the things that they're up to. I still want to get back to going through my chats and reading some of them to you. If I knew how to scroll it down the screen, I would try to do that too. I'm working with somebody who's a friend of mine who's going to try to help me do some of that, but I don't know, with my time schedule, we'll see what I can get to. But appreciate you guys listening. If you have any questions, please put them in the comments below. The code here is coded language, and that's what they use in their ICANN trainings across the country. They're actually trained how to sound like people who are in danger once they flip the script on you. They learn how to sound like and use certain terms of kids so that they can actually entrap people. Remember, they're not doing an investigation, they're trolling to try to gin up statistics.